gentlemen, a very good evening. You're with NDTV and we are closely tracking what's been happening over the last few hours. Yes, India has officially confirmed that there is a ceasefire when it comes to what's been happening vis-a-vis Pakistan. But right now, I want you to look closely at these images on your screens. Now, the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Omar Abdullah, has taken to the social media. He's putting out certain pictures and he's asking what happened to the ceasefire. Because apparently these are drones that have been spotted in Srinagar, and you're looking at the Indian Defence Forces, as always, responding in kind. Not just this, there are also reports right now of a few explosions. Again, this is what Omar Abdullah has essentially said. We'll try and in fact get in our colleague Shiv, who is in Srinagar, in just a moment to tell us exactly what he has seen and heard in the last few hours. Shiv, if you can hear me, Omar Abdullah says that he has seen these drones, he has heard explosions. Tell us more, Shiv, of what you can confirm to us.
Deepthi, we've just seen probably the most extended drone raid and engagement here in Srinagar. We've just seen Omar Abdullah's tweet as well, acknowledging seeing exactly what we saw from very, very close quarters. It's a complete blackout right now in the city of Srinagar, where I'm reporting from. And not just a blackout, the roads have been completely cleared. All traffic has been taken off the street, at least in the area where I'm reporting from. And I hear from certain other areas. There was a good 25-minute long, very, very energetic drone engagement close to us and in the farther areas from us. We hear closer to Pahalgam and the Srinagar airport. There was constant ground fire using the different anti-drone guns and anti-aircraft guns to engage these drones. I myself filmed the pictures that we probably have on our screens right now from my phone of the tracer fire and the rounds being fired from the ground to destroy those drones. We did see, I personally saw and recorded at least 6 drones being destroyed in the air, like literally right above my head, and those were slow-moving drones, and they were destroyed in that manner. Wondering what those drones were doing here, but this incident is being seen as serious. I've spoken to my sources in the defense forces, and they do confirm that there was hostile drone activity over both Srinagar and the adjoining area of Pahalgam. Both have lots of military facilities. Obviously, we won't go into the details, but Deepthi, I can tell you that if this morning was a trailer or an appetizer, this was the main course. 25 minutes of non-stop gunfire, tracer fire, and those drones being popped in the air. So this was a major event, definitely, this evening in Srinagar.
Yes, Shiv, I'm just requesting you to stay with us and hold that phone line, because there is an update right now on our screens that's also coming in from Gujarat. And in fact, I'm quoting the Gujarat Home Minister, who's taken to the social media earlier. Harsh Sanghvi, in fact, says, and allow me to quote, he says several drones have been spotted in the Kutch district. A complete blackout, he says, is going to be implemented now. He also urges people to not panic and stay safe. We'll get in our colleague Paras. I think he's there with us. Paras, what can you tell us?
Like I said, this has been a very, very difficult situation in all of the country, and now if we can see that there are some drones which have been seen in Kutch also. Today evening we had seen that ceasefire was imposed in this entire India-Pakistan conflict, but now we had seen the many drones which has been seen in Kutch and Bhuj. There are many specific installation also where this drone has been seen. One is in Nalia, near Nalia Air Force Station. In this entire matter, the Home Minister of Gujarat, Harsh Sanghvi, has also tweeted, and he has confirmed that there has been a scene of Pakistani drones near Kutch and Bhuj. So this will be a very, very difficult situation, and with that, Kutch has been or now has been gone to a total blackout. Entire Kutch has been gone to total blackout from now.
All right, Paras there getting us information, and that is also what the Gujarat Home Minister, in fact, has confirmed. Paras, I'll let you go for the moment, and we'll, in fact, keep coming back to our team of reporters as and when there is an update. But I want to go back to Srinagar because reports say, Shiv, like you also said, that there have been multiple explosions, there is activity. Now, clearly, we don't want to preempt what possibly could happen, but this is the standard modus operandi that we have seen vis-a-vis Pakistan over the last few nights. And this night, it seems, isn't any different, Shiv.
I think what the Ministry of Defence personnel in that press conference, Deepthi, earlier, after the MEA statement on the ceasefire, I think what the MOD officers said has turned out to be correct, that India's guard will be up. There is no backdialing on a sudden and abrupt change in the rules of engagement between two countries, where, just hours after India has conducted the most historic punitive strikes on Pakistan, a ceasefire came into effect, and then just a few hours later, you're seeing incidents of this kind taking place. So we'll be careful with our words, obviously, because these are early hours that we're reporting right now. But I think, without having a full picture of what explains these drone attacks and, some incidents of firing in different sectors of the line of control, especially in the Jammu division, I'm going to conjecture, Deepthi, that this is sort of playbook Pakistan, unreliable, unpredictable, a country that doesn't keep to its commitments, a country that is volatile, a country that, is not bound by its word when it comes to even things like agreements. We still don't know the anatomy of what is going on right now, because for 25 minutes, that was a big engagement here in Srinagar. We've seen reports of similar activity elsewhere. You just had that news break from Kutch in Gujarat. Is this a one-off? Are these teething troubles of an abrupt, end to hostilities and just the remnants of what has been a very energetic and tensely kinetic cycle for 3 days, or is there something more sinister afoot? I think we'll get to know, overnight tonight and maybe tomorrow as well, Deepthi.
All right, Shiv, only for the moment, I'll let you go. But, like Shiv also mentioned, there is no need to panic. And whether this is a one-off incident or there is more to this, clearly we'll await an official word. Until then, we'll just let both Paras and Shiv go back to collecting more information, and I'll take this opportunity to also introduce our panel of guests, and I want to thank them for their patience as we wanted to stay live with our reporters and pick up this initial information. I do see Rajiv Bhatia, who's a former ambassador, on the show. It's a pleasure, sir, to have you here, along with DP Srivastava, who's a former Indian ambassador, also on the show, Major General Rajan Kochar, who's also a defense expert, and Brigadier Sandeep Thapar, also a defense analyst. Gentlemen, good evening and thank you for your time. We are looking at these images. Omar Abdullah and the Gujarat Home Minister both have claimed that they have cited drone activity, but they've also urged people to continue to remain calm and we must not panic. Let's begin by Major General Rajan Kochar by asking him first up his thoughts on what has happened today as far as the ceasefire has been announced between India and Pakistan, sir, and what we are reporting now.
Thank you for you inviting me for this program. You see, at the very outset, I had made a statement in the evening when this was announced. I was on another TV channel. I had made the statement at that point of time that we cannot trust the Pakistanis, and we must play it out, and we must not let down our guard. It's very unfortunate that first of all, this ceasefire was orchestrated in a very odd manner, I would say that, because a statement came from President Trump, and he was claiming that he has been able to get this ceasefire done. Then we had a statement from the Pakistan side saying that we have agreed to what the US has said and we are going to a ceasefire. And then we had that 6 p.m. briefing of our foreign secretary. So what was lacking in all this was that on what grounds has the ceasefire been agreed to, have our conditions which we had you kept at that point of time as far as terrorist activities in Pakistan is concerned, and the Indus Water Treaty and the visas and everything, all so many actions we had taken, non-kinetic actions. So there was no mention of anything like that. So right from the outset, I think it was a very, very fragile kind of an agreement. And when the DGMOs talk to each other, see, I have a strong belief because I've been into the system for almost 4 decades. I have a strong belief that when DGMOs talk to each other, when two military men talk to each other, I am setting aside the politicians here. When two military men talk to each other and they are convinced that they have to push through this ceasefire, I don't think this ceasefire should have lasted a couple of hours, rather hardly any hours. I would say that 5 p.m. this ceasefire was there, and we heard around 8 p.m. or so this activity is taking place, 3 hours or so. So I really not able to understand this thing in such a short time. What made them go back on a commitment which was given to us by the Pakistani counterpart of our DGMO
Okay.
when he said that we want a ceasefire because uh, 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 this initiative came from Pakistan.
That's right.
Pakistan wanted this ceasefire. We didn't want this ceasefire. Pakistan approached the Americans 3 days back, and they were parleys among each other. See, all this, what these facts I'm stating are obtained from the media. So I trust that media was reporting it accurately. So 3 days back, these parleys had taken place, and subsequently we were given to understand that this ceasefire is materializing. So my first comments are right now
Okay.
that things cannot go back now. Uh, the situation is going to escalate because the way these attacks have been carried now, I believe some damage has been caused in a few of these areas. Damage assessment will all be known in the morning once we come to know about these things. But
No,
definitely,
yes. So I would just say that, these are still initial times, and we at NDTV will be very doubly cautious till we hear an official word on a lot of things, because it's important to be responsible, I think, and that's exactly what we'll do. But I understand from where you're coming, and I also now do see Lisa Curtis with us, so I'll say good evening to her. She's a director for Indo-Pacific Security at the Center for a New American Security, and also the former Deputy Assistant to the President and the NSC Senior Director for South and Central Asia in the first Trump administration. Lisa, thank you for your time. And before I get in the former ambassadors, I want to get a quick word from Brigadier Sandeep Thapar also on his assessment of what has happened in the last few hours, sir.
You see, I'll be frank, I'm a little disappointed by the whatever has happened today. And I'm talking about the ceasefire thing. We were morally just, correct. Our action was proportionate, non-escalatory, and we announced every day that, listen, we are not interested, we just wanted to. We had them in our grip. We had them, I won't say on a run, but we had them in a grip. Uh, this is an ideal time to uh, punish them enough so that the message goes in that you cannot continue to carry out terrorism in our country, in our nation, and do these kind of things. I think we made a big concession uh, uh, by letting them loose, letting them go, because I don't think the message has gone in enough. Perhaps no. Definitely, I would say definitely it hasn't gone in. The social media, most of the Pakistanis are taking it as a victory. So that apart, now coming to what was happening since this commitment.
Yes.
I have plenty of experience with the Pakistani troops, and I know they take perverse pleasure in doing these kind of things. By my reckoning, this will continue till the morning. They will not cross the Rubicon. A little bit, they'll continue non offensive drones, and probably by the morning it'll end. They have the habit of doing these kind of things for a short time. Nothing else. I call it only there's a perverse psyche in them. I would recollect in Balakot when they had our Air Force officer, they promised that 3 o'clock they'll hand him over. And I was on TV channel, said 3 o'clock. I said, no way. They'll make you wait till 9:30, 10, and then they'll hand over. And sure enough, they finally handed him over at close to midnight. So they take fun in take fun in doing these kind of things. Now I must say that coming away from this topic, this is a conditional ceasefire. This is only on military action.
Yes.
That also not now. Other sanctions will stay. Let's see how they translate. But we need to re-establish mutual trust with the Pakistani army, how things will function. Now, future acts of terror. We've already said there'll be acts of war. How does this translate on ground? So all this has to be fine-tuned. We have our side and we have to talk to them. And let's see what will be the rules of engagement here and after.
Okay. All right. And even as we have this conversation, I must tell our viewers that our colleague Vishnu Shom, who's also been keeping us on top of the story, is sharing some important information. Again, this is coming via the army sources. So I would want to reiterate this for the benefit of our viewers. He tells us that there have been no blasts in Srinagar. Very categorically, there is no firing along the LC. It only happened earlier. Drones did come in, but we will get to know about the status in the next, some time. So I think this is an important detail right now, and also to keep in mind that a lot of what you might see could be deferred. A lot of this, what you might see, is not confirmed. So if you're watching this on other networks, I think NDTV will be very cautious, doubly careful about ensuring that we only put out verified stuff. And before the former ambassadors, Lisa, as you were joining us here into our discussion here, these were reports coming in from Srinagar where Omar Abdullah and the Gujarat Home Minister there have claimed that they've sighted drones and they've also heard a few explosions. Now, a lot of question is being raised on the fact that whether Pakistan, Lisa, can be trusted in itself. Would it be fair to say that the US is the underwriter of this deal, but ultimately India has paid the price for trusting Pakistan before also?
Well, my understanding is that the Indian and Pakistani DGMOs spoke to confirm the ceasefire. So I think we should expect that there is a ceasefire in place. If there have been some infractions over the last couple of hours, which it sounds like there may have been, I think we should assume that this is accidental and does not, represent what the intentions are of the Pakistani side. And I also understand that, yes, the U.S. Did play a role behind the scenes in helping to effectuate this ceasefire. My understanding is that it was a team effort among, Secretary of State Rubio, Vice President Vance, and Secretary Hegseth, working carefully behind the scenes to try to de-escalate the situation and bring about calm, because what we saw over the last 72 hours was extremely dangerous. We saw the conflict escalate to levels, we really haven't seen since the last Pakistani full-blown war in 1971. So I think a lot of people were extremely concerned about what was happening. And so it's good news that there has been a ceasefire declared by both sides, and they have decided to sit down and talk with one another about next steps. And I think this is good news for India, good news for Pakistan, and good news for the world, because nobody wants to see a conflict escalating between these two countries.
Okay, I think, Lisa, you make a lot of important points, though you call this, it could be accidental, I do not know, but I did see Brigadier Sandeep Thapar really nodding his head vigorously, and I think that is going to be in disagreement. But sir, before I come to you, I want to get...
Deliberate. This is deliberate. We know them so well. This is deliberate. This is typical Punjabi Musliman army which is doing it. This is very, very deliberate.
Okay, I just want to quickly then get in Rajiv Bhatia ji also and DP Srivastava, who've been very kind and patient to, let the other gentleman speak. Rajiv ji, first you go. Why don't you tell me more about what you just heard from Lisa? The point is that there is no equivalence between India and Pakistan. You know, one is the aggressor here, the other is the victim.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Greetings from my think tank Gateway House located in Mumbai. We are watching developments with a great deal of attention. I think my thoughts are quite clear. I do agree that this is a good turn. The world does not want two nuclear weapons power to go into a higher level of escalatory ladder. It's very clear that this agreement on ceasefire or understanding on ceasefire has come about mainly because India has been able to inflict heavy damage on Pakistan's air bases and air defenses. That is the central reality. And on top of that, the economic vulnerability of Pakistan is evident to the entire world. And it is very clear to me that Washington used the recent IMF meeting to use that as a lever of pressure on Pakistan. The central point also is that clearly kudos would be well deserved for American diplomacy. I think American role cannot be underplayed at all. I think in this kind of situation where the trust is very low between India and Pakistan, you do need a facilitator or a third party to really bring about a desired outcome. I'm not frankly too worried about these violations. First of all, in the past also, there have been many instances where agreement takes time to be implemented. There are all kinds of complexities that my military colleagues know better. But we should be at the same time very clear in the end, and this is my last point, that this is not the end of the India-Pak issues. That is a long journey, long road ahead. We'll take a lot of time to travel on that. But at least we have stopped before it was too late. And therefore, in a way, it's a matter of relief to the people of the region and indeed, as Lisa very rightly said, for the world.
All right. So I think that's also an important perspective, sir, that you've been able to share with us. And I figured out a very interesting word in your conversation, which is third party. I want to get DP Srivastava ji to push that point a little further, because the position in India has been for the longest time is that this is a bilateral issue. You know, whatever happens has to be discussed between India and Pakistan. Now, I do not know what is the scope of this third party here, but Srivastava ji, how do you look at what has happened? What are your thoughts, sir?
Okay, let me start with the comment made by Liza.
Yeah.
This is not an accident. You know, you see the spread. The ceasefire violations have taken place from Kashmir to Guj, across more than 1,000 kilometers of border. So this cannot be decision of a local commander. These are completely different sectors under different code. So obviously, either it is still being done with a nod and wink from Pakistani army leadership, or it denotes something much more serious, that there's a rift within the army leadership. And Asim Munir is not in charge of, not in control of his own house. And this rift has been evident for quite some time. You know, let me take you back to May 23, when Imran Khan supporters attacked army headquarters and Lahore Corps Commander's residence. And this was followed by purge of army leadership, including senior leadership. So the rift has been there. So it could be either complicity or worse, that there are senior people at the core level who do not agree with the chief's philosophy and are carrying on with their own policies. Now, the third part, this conflict has ended with Pakistan badly bruised. They have not been able to protect LET and Jaish-e-Mohammed, their proteges, whose headquarters were destroyed by Indian attacks. There's a situation now, the Indus Water Treaty has been held in abeyance. I think this is, and the third is that the Indian attack, you look at the spread from Rawalpindi, Islamabad to Karachi, and of course the middle sector, Punjab. They have taken out the Lahore radar station. So with this kind of major setback, there will be many questions asked. And a lost war eventually leads to change in leadership. In 65, Ayub Khan had to go. It was a different age. So, he hung on for another 4 years, but he was a lame duck president. 71, Yahya went very quickly. 99, Musharraf managed to turn the tables on Nawaz Sharif and pin the blame on civilian leadership. Now, this time, that cannot happen because Shehbaz Sharif is a nominated nominal prime minister who survives on Asim Mani's support. So, the kingpin is Asim Mani, and he will have to take the blame from various constituencies within the army, as well as these terrorist organizations, which have, have been part of the setup. So, and if Asim Munir goes, there will be a chain reaction. Shehbaz Sharif will not survive. And all this has to be now the last part. And this is whether there was a third party mediation and so on. I appreciate the role of the US, which is very responsible. But let me just clarify. Pakistan turns to the US only after it has drawn a blank from its friends elsewhere.
Exactly.
And its most important friend is China. And you look at Chinese statement of 10th May, it is equidistant. And there was a visit by Saudi Foreign Minister yesterday to Pakistan. I have not seen any, I read Urdu. I have not seen any Pakistani statement. If there was any support, they would have gone to town. So they have turned to Americans only after, number one, having lost the military game, and number two, drawn a blank from the constituencies they were supporting. They have only support of Turkey.
Yes.
Turkey, the Turkish caliph, this is how much strength does he have?
You're
Turkey,
right.
like Pakistan,
sir,
is a crumbling
as we are
economy.
having this conversation, I just want to draw your attention up to this tweet that has come in from Shehbaz Sharif a little earlier, Lisa, and then I'll let you respond to both the gentlemen who've just spoken. Now, Shehbaz Sharif says that we thank President Trump for his leadership and for a proactive role for peace in the region. Then he says Pakistan appreciates the US for facilitating the outcome. At the end, he says Pakistan believes that this marks a new beginning in the resolution of issues that have plagued the region and prevented its journey towards peace, prosperity and stability. What is this new beginning that he might be referring to? And I mean, does the US agree with the kind of language, the words that he has used, and maybe the larger intent?
Yes, I think you've asked me.
Yes.
I'd be happy to respond. So first, let me respond to Dr. Srivastava, who made some very important points, but particularly on the U.S. Being the one behind the scenes to be able to facilitate this ceasefire. There was no way that China could play a helpful role. China is clearly tilted toward Pakistan, had just had a major crisis with India on their disputed borders 5 years ago. So there was no question of China ever being able to play an honest broker role in this crisis situation. It can only be the United States. Of course, the United States has tilted very much toward India in the last few years and made very clear that India is its strategic partner that it is investing in. The Pakistan relationship has been very fraught over the last several years. It's deteriorated significantly, but the U.S. does have a history of a relationship with Pakistan that it can draw from. And Pakistan also wants to have a better relationship with the United States. So that's how the U.S. can play that honest broker role, even though it has invested significantly more in its relationship with India over the last few years. The second point about the Pakistani statement, to me, this is more about Pakistani face saving. Look, I think, I just talked about the U.S. important role in diffusing a crisis situation, in getting the two sides to back away from an all-out war. But the U.S. has absolutely no role to play in trying to help the two sides resolve their fundamental conflict and their fundamental dispute over the issue of Kashmir. That is something that only India and Pakistan can deal with.
Yes.
And I would just say, looking back at past U.S. statements regarding Kashmir, I always think back to former President Clinton when, after the 1999 Kargil conflict, he made an important statement. He said, borders cannot be changed through blood, and there needs to be respect for the line of control, essentially saying that is the de facto border. In my opinion, that's the only resolution to the dispute. And the sooner that both countries accept this, then I think the sooner we can avoid future crises like we have just seen.
I think that's a very fair and a balanced point, Lisa, that you do make. And because you were speaking about China, so Rajan Kocherji, before I let you respond, China has also put out a statement. And look at the kind of words it is using. China's foreign minister, Wang Yi, has said that his country would continue to stand by Pakistan in upholding its sovereignty, territorial integrity and national independence. Those are the words China is still using. Then he goes on to say, in fact, they acknowledge Pakistan's restraint. Restraint is the word that they are using in their statement, and appreciated its responsible approach under challenging circumstances. I mean, there clearly needs to be a far greater message that needs to go out to tell everyone to back off. And like Lisa said, that this is just about India and Pakistan, and India is strong enough to deal with the issue. Mr. Kocher.
A very good point you have made, and Ambassador Srivastava also mentioned China, which was missed out in this discussion among each of the panelists. It is important to understand that today, if Pakistan is fighting against India, and in the manner it has fought against India, using drones and the kind of equipment it has today, it is because of China and Turkey. Today, Pakistan has more than 1 lakh drones, when I'm given to understand, and it has hardly used 2 to 3% of the arsenal of the drones. So, when an agreement like this or a ceasefire like this is reached, I have a fundamental doubt. That fundamental doubt is, was China consulted by Pakistan to go ahead with the ceasefire? And if Pakistan was compelled to leave China out of it, thinking that China may not accept this proposal, and Pakistan was in a corner, or whatever may be the reasons or compulsion of Pakistan to accept this or propose this ceasefire, then was China instrumental in later on pressurizing Pakistan to go back on the ceasefire? And what we are seeing now, a violation of the ceasefire, was it because of Chinese pressure on Pakistan to not accept the proposal of the US as it went along with it? So these are certain questions, doubts in my mind, for which I am not getting the answers. Second important aspect is extremely important is here. Pakistan wanted a face saving, as has been brought out in the discussion, and the US was a medium to you ensured that the face saving was achieved. Now, if you remember, before the ceasefire, the last strike was made by India. If you remember all these airfields which were targeted by India, after that we didn't have a repose from Pakistan. So, as the ceasefire was negotiated, it was becoming apparent that it was because India's strike on Pakistan was so enormous in the perception management.
Absolutely.
I'm right now talking about perception management. So questions will be raised on Munir that India struck you so badly. All your 6 airfields were decimated because we have absolutely no idea about the damage assessment. This is what the media actually tells us, that 6 airfields have been decimated. His entire the air defense has been reduced to half, because this is what information we get, and we know there is a lot of misinformation available from Pakistan as well as India. I would say
You are
that.
right, sir. Yes,
Achha,
and because time is limited, I just want to ensure that I do give some time to the other gentlemen also who've been patiently waiting. Brigadier Sandeep Thapar, your thoughts, sir, and when you look at all these developments coming in, the mention of China, how Pakistan itself is responding, now there clearly needs to be more to the story than what meets the eye here.
Very interesting. The conversation is getting a little too serious. Let me take it to the lighter side a little. I'm part of my school group. We are all 60 plus. And in my class group, 2 ladies, all 60 plus, grandmothers. One of them writes the 2.3 billion loan had terms and conditions. Ceasefire was probably one of them. The other one says, and this is a thought of normal Indians. In my opinion, the ceasefire offered by Pakistan is just a ruse, a breather before they repair and recover, and then get back to their usual things. So there's very little trust on Pakistan. And we know that at the moment they're under a little bit of pressure, American pressure. Okay, good for them. But they, like I said in the beginning opening statement, we've still not got that guarantee or security from them that they will not indulge in these activities. Had this thing continued for a few more days, maybe the lesson would have gone, and the pain, we would have inflicted sufficient pain on them for them to realize that this approach does not pay dividends. I don't think that has happened. The ceasefire has cut it in short, and that's why I said in the beginning, I'm a little disappointed. And let's hope in the subsequent talks we convey to them sufficiently strongly that this time you got away, next time we'll make sure you don't.
Oh yes, and I think that is why when India says that the next time you want to attack us, we will ensure that you pay for it, because that will be considered an act of terror. What we'll do, gentlemen, and Lisa, with your permission, we'll quickly hit a break. On the other side, we carry forward this conversation. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. So we've been discussing, can Pakistan be trusted? Yes, India has officially confirmed the ceasefire, but can you still trust Pakistan? Who's in charge of Pakistan? And what is with China right now completely backing Pakistan? Layer by layer, remember, before we hit our break, we were trying to uncover that entire story, also factoring in updates that have come in both from Gujarat and Srinagar, where the Gujarat Home Minister and the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister have indicated that drones were apparently spotted, and we do know that our forces are responding right now as they would have in any other circumstance. Let's go back to our panel of guests, and I thank them for their patience as we were on this break, and we'll continue to keep this discussion alive with more ground reportage also coming in. Rajiv Bhatia is a former ambassador. DP Srivastava ji is also a former Indian ambassador with us. Major General Rajan Kochar is a defense expert, and so is Brigadier Sandeep Thapar, who continue to stay with us. And I also now do see Pramit Makodai, who's a co-founder director of the Boston Center of Excellence, president of the Global Citizens Forum in the US. Pramit, thank you for your time, and because you've just joined us, why don't you begin by telling us what is your overview or what has happened vis-a-vis India and Pakistan in the last few hours?
See, in America, people were a little bit happy that the ceasefire has happened, but as the other panelists were discussing, it is hard to trust Pakistan because we started feeling that Pakistan is a partially failed state. You don't know who is really in power and control right now, whether it is government, army, and in some parts, people are saying even the Islamic terrorists might have some kind of control on some section. So it is we need to be really wait and watch for next couple of days to see that whether the ceasefire could really come into effect or not. We are already seeing signs that it is not. In all good faith, America has tried because the biggest elephant in the room that America and India both understand.
Okay, I think that's a brief point that he's made, but I think technology could be playing a spoiler and we might have just lost his line. We'll try to get him back, but you know, I think there is something interesting in what he said, and I will let both DP Srivastavaji and Rajiv Bhatia respond to this. Mr. Bhatia, why don't you go first, sir? Because he said you can't trust Pakistan, it's a failed state. Now, the point is we know that Pakistan is the fountainhead of terror, but still, why do you have the world wanting to give Pakistan a long rope?
Well, the answer is obvious. You just have to look at the map to realize the size and magnitude and the population and the strategic location of Pakistan. It's not some tiny little country hidden in one corner of the world that can be ignored. It is an important country. And then, of course, on top of that, the history and ideology of this country also have to be taken into account. In any case, for India, it is a major headache. It has been a major headache and probably it would remain so for a long time in the future as well. I wanted to bring in 2 or 3 other points. And this is to, first of all, fully respect your coverage of the violations of the ceasefire. But I should share with you that the latest reports are suggesting that the official channel, Doordarshan, is projecting the idea that no serious violations of the ceasefire have taken place. So this is yet another perspective that we need to take into consideration. My second point is that, you know, we are getting close to midnight, so we can keep discussing and speculating about the motivations of China and whether they are in line or in contradiction with what the US is trying to say. But sometimes the reality is much more simple than we in our imaginary flight might think, to be very, very complicated. The fact of the matter is, number one, Pakistan has been in serious trouble. They needed an off-ramp. The US, which is on good wicket with both Pakistan and India, was more than willing to provide that off-ramp. Third, India, in any case, has said at every step in the last 4 or 5 days that we do not want to escalate. We would only respond. And that if Pakistan stops, we will stop. In fact, right on the first day, the Indian message was justice delivered, Jai Hind. So after that, it was very clear that the moment a off-ramp comes, people would start really taking that. So I think, to my mind, the reality is simple. But nothing stops us, to speculate, interpret, present different perspectives. And so let us see what happens. Maybe in a few hours, the violations will stop. And we will then know that there is a journey ahead. But final point is, and I'm very clear, there is very little trust between India and Pakistan today. And this whole last 2 weeks, whatever relationship was there, that has been very badly damaged. It's going to take a long time, very, very difficult negotiations before we will be able to find some kind of normalcy.
Yes, and I must say, Rajiv Bhatia ji, that ultimately you need to blame Pakistan for this. Today if China says that, listen, Pakistan has done nothing wrong, then clearly China is obviously living under a rock and it clearly does not want to project Pakistan as the aggressor. But multiple images, multiple proof, multiple instances will actually tell us that there is a real problem. And that is why, in spite of given an off-ramp at least twice by India. We've seen Pakistan only wanting to go up the escalation ladder. Pramit, if you will bear with me, I quickly also want to get in DP Srivastavaji before I come back to you. You know, we just lost your line because of a bad line, but I hope you stay with us, Mr. Srivastava. How would you respond to what you've just heard, also from Rajiv Bhatia, and what the conversation has largely been about?
Let me add one point which has not been touched so far, and that is about IMF assistance. I think the timing was bad. It amounts to rewarding Pakistan for its misadventure. The $7 billion credit by IMF under extended finance facility was already committed, so you can ignore that. They released $1 billion under the commitment already made. But Pakistan received a fresh commitment of $1.4 billion under Climate Resilience Fund. And Pakistan has a history of diverting both its domestic resources and the external assistance to defense or war fund. So this is going to happen again. At least at a minimum, the lesson the Pakistan army has drawn that they can pocket this money and carry on with business as usual. Now, the second part, this role of China, it's a complicated issue. China supports Pakistan, but it does not allow the junior partner to dictate its policy. So, in practical terms, it has remained neutral, and that is what has forced Pakistan to come to the table. And this is not the first such occasion. This is what happened during Kargil war. Nawaz Sharif went to Washington on 4th July after his visit to China. And his visit was preceded by the army chief's visit, and both had drawn a blank. So they sensed that they were not getting the support from their iron brother which they expected. At the same time, China wants to maintain Pakistan as a counter to India to constrain India's growth in future. So they have to make this kind of statement at the end, which is to keep the pot boiling.
Okay.
Now the third... Okay.
Yes, sir. You make a good point, and because you've just touched upon that, there are a lot of our people, viewers, who've been also asking that had the US not wanted, could this loan have been given to Pakistan? Because you're clearly looking at an emboldening of stand when it comes to Pakistan, the terror factories, and we all know where this money ultimately moves. Pramit, what are your thoughts about this? You'll have to unmute yourself.
I'm on mute.
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, go on, please.
Yes. So I think this is definitely one of the bargaining chip or the where we have for the ceasefire. This could have been used probably that the loan from the IMF. But I think that pressure has to be mounted that if they don't abide by the rules, then the loan could be withdrawn as well. There is a possibility when America puts its all pressure, nothing is totally off the equation. And that's where I think America has to play a very important role. It's and biggest right now, the focus of America is more on the tariff and the trade war. They want both US and India to focus more on that so that we can counter China. Right now, the focus of America is less of Pakistan and less of the war, and that's why America is putting a lot of pressure to get this off from the whole India-Pakistan war and get back to the negotiations on the tariff and the trade and the great equation that America and India has, how we can counter China and make sure India also should take a best advantage of this whole scenario right now. I think that 4 or 5 years ago, we have lost a great opportunity of moving back a lot of jobs from China and to India. But I think this is in the current scenario of this new set of tariffs that is coming on China. We should use that opportunity to bring the jobs back to India. So the I understand that war is the focus, and that's where America wants to move it focus from there to how we both can come together and counter China. I think that is the focus what Washington wants to bring into this whole equation.
I'm told we have the last couple of minutes, so we'll just keep our comments brief again so that everyone gets in a final word, about 40 to 45 seconds to all of you gentlemen. Rajan Kocharji, you want to begin? Why don't you in fact respond to what Pramit has just also said? Because the point is that there is a perennial problem like Pakistan. You can't change your neighbor, but then you need to change your approach. Are you now reading that there could be a change in that approach, the rules of engagement with Pakistan?
That's a very interesting question, but I don't think it is possible under the present circumstances. There is a large gap in perceptions, understanding. Pakistan is fixated with Jammu and Kashmir. So, unless that fixation of Pakistan is out, it won't be possible to negotiate with Pakistan. Second is that Pakistan's army predominantly a mindset on Jammu and Kashmir, because I believe the relevance of Pakistan army in Pakistan is focused on making Jammu and Kashmir always the issue. Pakistan's growth has not happened because of this reason. They have focused more on their external issues rather than on the internal issues, and I would like to bring in Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Waziristan into this play. And now Sindh, that Cholistan Canal project is also creating problems between Sindh and Punjab. So when I take this, I'll just sum it up. When I take this entire thing into the overall picture, Pakistan is also facing a lot of internal problems.
Yes.
They want to deflect these problems by making an issue on Jammu and Kashmir and with India, so that the attention of people also get diverted. So I think unless there is stability within Pakistan in their own internal system, because their elections are also rigged, they have a guy who's the Prime Minister who has got only 12% votes. He is not a popular guy in Pakistan. The popular guy is in jail. So when I see these internal fissures in Pakistan, I don't think we can move towards any kind of normalcy with them.
Okay, but General Kochar, people know about this. You and I are talking about this. The world knows about it. But Brigadier Thapar, why don't we just call Pakistan a terror state? I mean, why should that be such a problem?
We've been doing that. We've been calling them a terror state. The whole world calls them a terror state. On their face, behind their backs, the whole world knows it.
But then how can you negotiate with a terror state?
No, but the thing is, it's a nation like the ambassador's diplomats brought out. It has its utility for the big powers. So beyond a point, they don't push it because they've used it earlier. America's used it. Europe has used it. West Asian countries have used it. So it's probably repay time. See, I personally feel it's come back to this issue that it may have been incomplete, but we sent a message to Pakistan that listen, you can't get away with this. That is one of the major things we did was we hit Punjab. We hit his heart. It shaken him up. But how can they hit Punjab? Till POK was fine.
Yes.
Because contentious between both of us. But when he hit Punjab, it shook him up. It's like, I compare, it's like 26/11. If it happened in Jammu or Lucknow, maybe it would, not that those cities are any different, but it would have made so much of effort. It happened in the financial capital.
Yes, we went into the heartland, and I think that's the problem. We moved away from POK, we moved away from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we went into their heartland, the jugular. Gentlemen, I'm told I've completely run out of time, but it's been a fascinating and insightful conversation. I want to thank Pramit, Rajiv Bhatia ji, DP Srivastava ji, also Major General Rajan Kochar and Brigadier Sandeep Thapar, and also Lisa for joining us. We at NDTV will continue to keep you on top of the story, and we'll see whether Pakistan can ever be trusted. Thank you for watching. Good night.